Hello there. Welcome to Health Options. Studies that access to use maternal and mortality in Nigeria through family planning and not yield the results. Nigeria has a population of 200 million and the most populous country in Africa and the seventh globally. The United Nations publication prospects that Nigeria is on course to become the third most populous country in the world by 2050. They will sustain population through procreation. The federal government at the 2012 London Summit Family Planning made a of family planning for Nigeria. On this edition of Health Options, we shall take a look at issues of family planning in Nigeria in the face of on maternal and child mortality. What do you know about the vegetable called celery? Join us on Nature's Corner for the health benefits of celery. We thank you for joining us on the program. Rabi Abel. This is Health Options, and we're taking a look at family planning uptake in Nigeria and the gaps in budgetary allocation in the face of the country's high maternal and child mortality rate. And to take us through the discussion is the Vice President, Society of Gynecology and Obstetrics of Nigeria, SAGAN, Dr. Habib Sadauki. Thanks for joining us on Health Options, Dr. Sadauki.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's
start by getting the proper definition of family planning. What is family planning?
Well, family planning are ways and methods of timing and spacing your children so that you decide when you should be pregnant and when you should, how many children you should have. It's not about saying that you have to limit to this number, but it's about saying that time your pregnancy, know when you want to become pregnant, and know how many you plan to have. And that many different methods that are used to stop women from getting pregnant. A number of ways, from tablets that are taken orally,
that's the contraceptives,
to contraceptives themselves, that is injectables, some implants, some what we call intrauterine contraceptive devices that are put inside the womb to prevent pregnancy taking place.
Okay.
So with the use of this modern method especially, you can now decide when you want to become pregnant and when, how many children you want to have, at what interval, without interrupting your normal marriage life.
Okay, in spite of the controversies, surrounding the family planning, adaptation, and all of that,
yeah.
Nigeria, still emerged as one of the countries that, made commitment at the 2012 London Summit. That's the commitment towards the promotion of family planning. What exactly does that entail, and what is it supposed to translate into? Has it translated into that?
Not yet. And I think the July 2012 in London, there was a summit. In that summit, Nigeria committed to support family planning by increasing the funding of family planning, okay, in terms of procurement of contraceptives, in terms of improving services, creating more facilities where family planning are provided. And the one commitment that was made was to provide a fixed amount of money every year for the procurement of contraceptive. And the purpose of that was that we are trying to achieve a critical level of contraceptive prevalence rate. That is, number of women who are using contraceptive, percentage of that, so that we'll be able to slow down the growth of our population. Presently, as you mentioned rightly at the your opening remarks, you noted that our population is growing very rapidly.
Really?
Our increase rate is about 2.6%, every year. And at that rate, it is expected, as you mentioned, that will be well over 500 million by 2050. And that has a lot of implication, in terms of health, in terms of our economy, in terms of our security, in terms of employment and provision of, critical social services. So it is for that reason that the government committed to provide support in 3 areas: increase the funding, increase the services, and partnership with international organizations, so that family planning programs will be firmly put in place to reduce our growth rate.
Is that going as expected?
Now, this is not going. We had initially, by 2012 at the London Summit, our target was to reach 36% contraceptive prevalence rate. But by 2020, this became a little bit difficult. And by 2017, the federal government of Nigeria rebased that 36 to 27. The current plan is to raise our contraceptive prevalence rate, that is the percentage of women who are using modern contraceptive method, to 27%. Presently, from the latest statistic in 2018, they're only at 12%. Of course, there are disparities across the country. In Northwest, for instance, it is about 6.5. In Southwest, it's about 24. So when you put the country together, you get an average of 12. So we are far away from 27. And our increase rate presently is about 0.7%. Our plan, the plan of the federal government with all the institutional supports, is to raise it to about 2% annually, so that we'll be able to attain the 27% by 2020. But this has not been achieved. And I think we are very unlikely to attain that at the current financial rate, at the current support rate. So that is why all the civil society organizations in this country are concerned. What can we do? How can we advocate? How can we talk to the governments, the policy makers, the religious leaders, to know the implication of this expansion of the population, very rapid expansion of the population. Explosion, yes, as it is. Now, the health implication of this is very clear. If women do not know when to have their pregnancies, their timing, they have health problem. If if they start very early, they have a lot of complications. If you start your pregnancy before the age of, say, 18, you are more likely to have serious complications that may end up in death, or in serious illnesses that will leave the mother, with complication in the future. Like eclampsia, that is the convulsion they have when you are younger. The younger you are when you become pregnant, the more likely you develop that complication of eclampsia. The more likely that you may not be able to deliver the baby, and if care is not taken, you may open a hole in the front passage and the back passage, and you may end up with what is called vasovaginal fistula, which is a very devastating condition. Now, similarly, if you are very old, you are over 35 years, and you start getting pregnant at that age, you stand the risk of developing very high blood pressures. Other old age conditions are beginning to set in, like diabetes mellitus, and many other things can hinder the progress of having a normal delivery. That can lead to serious maternal complications. Now, these are the complications for timing, for the starting and ending. What of the complications of repeated pregnancies? If you have pregnancy every 1 year or the year,
which means if you're not giving enough gap between
no space in between deliveries, it means your body will not come back to normal before the next pregnancy. So you'll be working on a deficit from the start, and you are more susceptible to have shortage of blood in your system. You are more susceptible to have complication. Of course, the more deliveries you have, if you do repeated pregnancies, the womb itself is getting weaker and weaker, and it is very easy for you to burst your womb in the course of having the baby.
Okay, but I'm just wondering, considering the nexus between maternal mortality reduction, between family planning and maternal and child mortality reduction, how comes the priority is expected is not being given?
Well,
is it because of those controversies? I know there are socio-cultural issues surrounding family planning out there, religious issues. I know all of that. Are they affecting them?
You are right.
Yes.
The major issue is that when you mention family planning, people are trying to control the population.
Yes.
But there's nothing to control the population. Look at what is happening now. If you have the vast majority of your population is under the age of 15, they are totally dependent. They are unemployed at that age. And if you have to provide school for them, you have to provide health services for them, you have to provide drinking water for them. And if the rate is increasing, and we know our GDP is not growing at the same rate, and therefore every year you are in deficit. And that is why we cannot provide adequate funding for our primary schools. There are millions of children that are out of school, not because they don't want to go to school. The schools are not there. Or if they are there, they're not properly managed and equipped to provide the right education. So if you don't have that kind of planning, then you have a problem in that social sector. Look at what is happening in terms of security. A lot of the people that are involved are young people who are unemployed. And the main reason behind that issue is, if you look at it carefully, is because they're not engaged. They are not engaged properly. If they are properly engaged, economically engaged, or in school, the things that they may reduce. So these are the social implications of having this population. Okay, in terms of health, it's good for you to have children, because every pregnancy comes with a risk. It's like crossing the road. If you cross the road every time, you stand the risk of being knocked down by a vehicle. This is reality. And if you do it at the wrong time, again, you tend to have more complications. So there are health implications, there are social implications, there are economical implications, and the security implication about this rapid expansion of our population. So for that reason, we need to really address the issues. Now, fundamentally, if you look at the budget over the years, from 2014, there was an increase in the allocation of family planning funding.
In 2014,
up to 2017. By 2017, 2018, we begin to see, a decline, serious decline. In fact, one major commitment that the federal government made was to provide $4 million annually for procurement of family planning commodities. This year, 300 million was allocated in the budget. 300 million naira is less than $1 million. So we are in deficit by 3 million. The implication of that is, because we procure for the following year, it means next year we'll be short of commodities, contraceptive commodities. And therefore, women who want to genuinely access family planning services will not be able to, because there is deficit in the supply.
Okay, yeah, the demand and
supply side, yes. So the supply side is going to be short. And already, ordinarily, the unmet need for family planning in this country has risen in the last statistics, 2018, to 19%. That is, say, in every 100 women that you meet, 19% are willing to use family planning, but they have no access to it. Either because the commodities are not there, or because they cannot reach the facilities, or because the provider is not there. Because part of the commitment was to expand the number of family planning services in this country from about 9,500 to 20,000 the service delivery points by the year 2020.
So, but
we are far away from that now. We are far away from
obviously,
that.
Obviously. But should it be a solely federal government thing?
Well, that's why I said there were three commitments.
Okay.
The first commitment was the government to commit its own fund.
Oh, okay.
Second was to provide expansion of the services and training. And then, of course, what we call the task shifting. That is to say, lower cadre health care providers can take up some responsibility in terms of provision of family planning. Okay, in place of doctors or nurses, for instance. For instance, a community health extension worker can put an implant. Before now, only doctors do that. So there's now a policy in the country to say that they can be trained to do that successfully, and it has been done, that they can do it. And if we train them, you'll be able to provide the services. And then they will address this 19% that we're talking, who are requiring services, but they cannot get it. They can't access it.
Okay, so
and similarly, sadly, because the government alone cannot do it, there is the partnership. One of the things that the government did was to partner with as many organizations and as many of the international bodies as possible to be able to provide a strong family planning program in Nigeria for the attainment of this contraceptive prevalence rate of 27% by the year 2020.
Okay, but
but we are short in all areas, but especially the financing, our own side of the financing. We're short.
Okay.
And now our prayer now is that the government now in the process of doing another budget for 2020, and we hope that the government will look at the current budget, see the deficit, and address it. And we're also hoping that the government will also look at it to say that, well, this deficit, can we address it even before the end of the year? Can we look at other sources of the health budgeting that will come by?
What are the implications of it not being addressed appropriately?
If it is not addressed, it means we're talking about right now as we are 19% shortage of the demand. People want it. I want services, but I can't get it. For one reason or the other, especially the commodities. Now, if you do not address it now, it means next year this gap will increase. And the implication is that more women will die because they will have pregnancies that they don't want, they will have pregnancies that is not planned, and they will have pregnancies that they cannot even access where to go for natal care, where to go for delivery, because the service is not there. And the consequence of that is that they will have complications and many of them will die.
Okay, on a final note now, while hoping that the needs will be done, let's look at the issue of uptake now, considering the available methods.
Right.
I know there are some that work for some women and others that don't work. What are you doing in terms of sensitization, of women? That's for those ones who require such, services, ideally.
Right. There is a national family planning blueprint that is coming out very shortly. It expired last year and it's being reviewed, and I'm sure another is coming out very shortly. And that is addressing the issue of sensitization and advocacy, talking to the people in the community, getting people to get to be aware of the value of family planning. It's not about saying don't have children. It is not. It's about saying that do it at the right time, do the right numbers, and make sure that you spare the pregnancies so that you stay healthy. And then, of course, for the government and for everybody, for the community, we're looking at all the social implications of not providing family planning. Having too many children that we cannot educate because the finances are not there. Our economy is not growing at the same rate as our population. And if that is the case, then our supplies will not be enough to everybody. And for that, Sogon is working very hard to ensure that the message reaches everybody. We are having various, maybe in the first week of October, we hope to hold a mini conference. So I will invite major stakeholders to discuss these issues. How can we address these gaps that we have identified? And secondly, in December, there will be an annual conference. The major theme of that conference will be to discuss on maternal health generally, in terms of maternal mortality and child mortality. And how can we put our heads together and support family is key in the reduction of maternal mortality and child mortality.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Habib Sadauki, for joining us on of Health.
Thank you very much.
For the useful down for the sake of Nigerian women and mothers.
Thank you very much. Right. Thank you.
The consumption of vegetables is one easy way to better health, and one of such vegetables is celery. Find out why you should make celery a regular feature of your meal on Our Nature Scanner.
Celery is a very common vegetable. I'm excited anytime I talk about celery because it is indigenous to Africa. But that's not the issue. The issue is that celery is a very good vegetable. It has a lot of medicinal compounds. Scientifically, we have have been able to isolate chemical moieties responsible for various biological or pharmacological activities of celery. So, celery or snack or in your dishes, in whatever form, just know you are consuming medicine. So, and it's important for us to know this so that we know that there is vegetable that is not medicinal. There are vegetables that are medicinal in nature, and at Nature's Corner we have elaborated on this before. For example, a vegetable that is a medicinal plant, because celery contains a lot of chemical constituents that have medicinal properties. In fact, it has a lot of flavonoids, and we have isolated coumarins and luteolin from celery. In fact, daily consumption of green celery as vegetable in your diet, you are sure you will not be hypertensive. Celery contains a lot of water, and it contains a lot of minerals: calcium, manganese, magnesium, potassium. It contains a lot of minerals. It contains a lot of vitamins. It contains vitamins A, vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin E. All the vitamin Bs are in celery. So you can see how potent is it. So that is why celery, we recommend celery to people in order to reduce weight and to also reduce the blood cholesterol. Not just cholesterol, because we have said at this program before that there's low density, there's bad cholesterol and there's good cholesterol. LDL, the low density protein, is the bad cholesterol. Celery specifically reduces LDL. So it's one of the reasons why it's a very good vegetable and medicinal plant that we encourage people to consume all of the time. Now, when cholesterol reduces, what happens is that the blood vessels are free, and so blood pressure reduces. That's what happens. In fact, the phytoconstituents of celery also stimulates bile juice production. Now, and bile juice is very, very useful in elimination of uric acid from the system. Uric acid is what is responsible. It's one of the things that is highly responsible for pains in the system. It puts pressure biologically on the kidney, on the renal system. So you find people having kidney problems. So people who consume celery regularly will not have problem will not have kidney problems, because celery has phytoconstituents that stimulates bile juice production. Like I said, celery therefore favors elimination of uric acid through what processes. You know, people who are hypertensive, what we do as pharmaceutical scientists is to develop drugs. Don't even need to go to the lab to bring out celery to come and give you that drug. Consuming it as vegetable, we have proven scientifically that it increases diuresis, so eliminate uric acid and things, kidney disease. So you can see that in that it gives good health to your kidney, and because it reduces cholesterol, thereby enhancing weight loss and reducing blood pressure, it prevents you from having hypertension. Then, because it does this, and there is now good blood pressure, and then the reduced cholesterol in the system, you will now have good heart, good blood pressure. That is not all. Let me say this. Celery contains linoleic acid. I have said it contains coumarins. I said it contains luteolin. Therefore, it can be dangerous, because these are chemicals. These are drugs, and they are potent. We do not encourage people who are pregnant to consume celery, because it can be dangerous to their health and to the health.
edition of Health Options. Remember that you can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Della. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.